What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi back with my man Eric Sheets Haber. We are doing the MLB Breakdown show. We're going to be doing it for QLTV as well as ourselves. And for you guys out there, we've been on I got a little bit of a hot streak going. Sheets has been consistently making money. I got a nice little win last night in basketball, and ready to bring it to the MLB, which is a crazy huge slate. I'm playing pretty big, so I'm ready for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really into it. I'm really into the baseball. I'm into the way I'm constructing stuff, and it's a very nice streamlined process I think I have going where I'm seeing if there's a big disparity in pitchers, you know what I mean, then I'll lock a guy in. But if I think it's close, I'll err on the side of going to the guy's lower owned, provided that there's certain stacks that I want to use. You know what I mean? So pairing low owned guys with high owned guys, not playing chalk with chalk. Like yesterday, for example, I mean, again, we talked about this in another project we were on, but so I really love to avoid those Colorado-Arizona games, like, for example, in general, because I think they're always like overpriced and overowned or whatever. But yesterday, I just saw this Arizona side. I'm like, this is like ridiculous. And I'm just going to just do what I can to kind of get that done. And so I had to make sure that the rest of my lineups were a little less chalky, and I took a pretty good stand on McCullers on FanDuel. I went 100% on him, and he went up 12, 13% on. I guess Gibson must have gotten owned there. I wasn't sure who really took the ownership or whatever. And one of my I think my best lineup on DraftKings had my man from Seattle with my eight points. Justin Dunn, 6 innings.
I couldn't believe it because that was where I ended up going with my stack after they opened the roof. And glad you won in baseball. You can have the baseball win. I'll take the basketball for last night.
Oh, yeah, dude, I would trade the baseball in for that basketball night last night. No problem, believe me.
All right.
All right. So let's get into today.
Good. Why don't you call up? Let me open your screen share.
Yeah. Let me pull up
We'll pull up your screen and we'll just go game by game.
Now the good thing is the bad thing. I didn't really build anything, but I know where I'm going. So we're gonna do this as we do it.
That's awesome. That's in my opinion, sometimes the best way to do it. All right. So we've got let's go game by game. Obviously, I agree. Scherzer's the best pitcher. Obviously, a little bit of risk. So if you're playing a bunch of lineups, fading him some places makes some sense because of his hamstring. But I think we're still going to be playing mostly Scherzer today on DK, in my opinion, and most of it. So that's my
opinion. So I guess we're not going game by game. But yeah, I agree with you.
I just wanted to throw the Scherzer thing out.
No, I sort of agree, but I can on DraftKings, I can see variations where I do different because what I have, by the way, I have Scherzer as my top pitcher, and then I have 4 guys like basically really, really close, as opposed to FanDuel where I'm locking a guy in. But on DraftKings, I mean, I agree with you. I think Scherzer is going to be where I go, but I think that they're going to be lineups where of those 4 other guys that I have, I might just play lineups with two of them in it. You know what I mean? Especially if there's, if I want to get to Coors or something like that. Maybe I don't want to play Scherzer with Coors, if I even could. So we'll see. The first game, I don't know, man. If a lot of people are going to the Yankees here, I really didn't think the Yankees were such a great spot as far as stacking goes. I guess because. I mean, Judge is 6,300, for example, and Toussaint was pretty good, man. I mean, I got no issues with him. I don't know if I want to go out of my way to play the Yankees today. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not gonna yell at you if you play Yankees. Obviously, they're probably the best team right now. But I wasn't really going to attack them, and I honestly wasn't going to go with much of Atlanta either. Even in my secondary stacks, I had like 6 stacks I was going to look for. As my main ones. I mean, there's a zillion team slate, but I really wasn't too interested in either of these pitchers or the hitting. I mean, why don't you do a little better for the fans than I did?
I'm definitely not interested in either of these pitchers today. I do think I might have Toussaint in a lineup or two. Okay. I think that he's got really good stuff. I've been saying this forever. He's got really good stuff. The strikeout upside is immense against this lineup, but I just don't. I think they're also patient, and it's going to be tough for him to get through the lineup too much. So sort of actually, I do have interest a little bit in the bats. You never have to sell me on a game in New York anyway, but I think Acuna. I like him against lefties. Obviously, the price is going to make it hard. So that's what you have to start. You're going to end up getting down to, and the same thing with the rest of the Atlanta guys. Freeman, even lefty. I don't mind him, but Travis d'Arnaud so expensive. Dansby Swanson expensive. Marcell Ozuna feels more reasonable for Marcell Ozuna, so I kind of like him at 4.4, and I kind of like Adam Duvall. I don't mind a mini stack here, but there's just better games to get to. Austin Riley, even there's power there. I prefer the Yankees bats, but again, these are all guys who I like on my big entries. I'm playing like 10% Judge. I'm playing like 10% Glaber, 10% Hicks, 10% Voit. I like the power potential upside. I just don't know if I'm going to go with much. And honestly, I might go with like one full stack and a big buy-in, but not really do much else with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm trying to look and see if anybody even really stands out. Not really. I guess Ozuna. I'm not sure. Again, I really didn't have much of an opinion on that game, so we can just move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, so next we get to Baltimore, Philly, and okay, so Wheeler is one of the other four guys, other four pitchers besides Scherzer that I was interested in. But if you want to play Wheeler with Scherzer, it becomes very, very pricey. Let's just put it that way. But Wheeler certainly projects decently, and he's going to get owned. But again, same type of thing. I mean, like, how owned is he going to be if it's so hard to get him in? So maybe if I play Wheeler, maybe it'll be with one of the cheaper guys, because I don't know if I can play. I don't know. We'll try to figure it out, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to play Wheeler and Scherzer together. But Wheeler certainly raised to be a decent play. I do like the Philly bats as one of my, I guess, secondary stacks behind Coors. So the guys I like are nobody particularly fancy. It would be Hoskins, McCutchen, even though Cobb's a righty. I mean, Harper, even Jay Bruce. I mean, basically the whole team. I think this could be an interesting place to go. They're all seem pretty cheap.
Except for Rio Muto, which is really But I would want to play him too. Like, honestly, I like the Philly side of this. I like Wheeler. I'll probably be around the field at probably in the 20 to 25% range on him. I do like some other pitchers, and Scherzer being one of them. So we'll talk about that. It's hard to get these guys in. But you want some reasonable price bets. They're not incredibly cheap, but they're reasonable. I love Didi. He's my preferred play on this side, partly price and positioning-wise. But I would like Hoskins would be my number one guy. It's just the first base is a little bit more crowded than shortstop. But I love Hoskins, one of the top plays in the slate for me. Him and Didi are two of my priority plays today. So followed by, look, I like Bryce a lot. He's heating up. The problem you're going to get into is here you have all the best hitters in baseball, and Bryce is not even one of them anymore. But he's one of them. He's not one of the best, like 3 or anything. But they're all on fire too lately. Yelich and Mookie and Trout. These guys are just crushing the ball. So it's kind of hard to try to decide how you're paying up. But I do like the rest of this team. I don't mind getting like a mini stack without Bryce or Rio Muto if you need to save some money, and maybe going, maybe playing Jay Bruce or McCutchen, who's a little cheaper, and then I would probably put Segura as the next guy I would want. I actually do like Segura with the shortstop eligibility there, so he's a guy I would take a shot on.
Okay, you want to move on?
Yep.
All right, so Washington Mets, as we discussed earlier, sure. Now Scherzer was questionable for a little while, right? He had hamstring issues or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Someone priced for perfection like this. Hamstring issues. They're really going to just let him roll out
what are you talking
100 pitches?
Oh, you're worried about Scherzer all of a sudden? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Oh, I just didn't know where it was coming from because I didn't even know we were on that game.
Oh, that's where I'm going. Oh my God. Why didn't I even get there? I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
As long as we're there.
Yeah, there's risk involved for sure. It's not an arm injury. Hamstring injuries do tend to reoccur, but more often in basketball. obviously the upside is so much higher than everyone else on the slate, even when
Yeah, I guess.
it always is. And you're not getting any discounts on him. So if you're not playing him, and the ones I'm not playing him, I might try to pay down instead of looking for an exact pivot, even though I do like Wheeler. I think Wheeler actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm sort of struggling with it. I don't really not want to play him, but I also have some fear.
You have any interest in the Washington bats?
I do want to point out, he's almost like never left a game with an injury before, by the way. I don't know if I've ever seen.
Dude, he shows up on the freaking mound. Remember last year with the freaking face mask?
He'll come out there, get 5 runs, and throw 130 pitches on certain days. Like he's out there. He's ready to go. I don't know. I'm gonna give him a shot. Anyway, sorry. What was the other question?
You like any of the Washington bats? I played him only in like one lineup last night. I was more pissed with myself.
I don't understand why people aren't on this team. I guess there's just too many places to go today. I love the Washington bats today. They are one of the stacks that I at least want to get like some exposure to. Porcello has not looked. I mean, honestly, for so long now, I feel like he's gotten away with murder, and including the Cy Young that he stole. He pitched really well last time against the same team to get the matchup to run it right back. This time we got Soto back in the lineup too. I think he gets massacred. I don't know. It's hard to say massacred, but I really just think this is a good spot for Washington. The preferred bats are Soto number 1. Again, hard to find the guys to pay up for, but we just got Soto back, and he already looks like the old Juan Soto. What did he put up 30 yesterday on DK at a home run and a double and a single? He almost hit the cycle. So he's him. Starlin Castro would be a priority, really cheap in second base. And Adam Eaton would be my favorite 3 plays, followed by Justin Turner. And then Thames, Kendrick, Cabrera are all in play too, as well as Suzuki if you want to use your catcher, or Robles if you want to make a 5-man. I like this team a lot. The hitting weather was good yesterday. It looks like it's going to be pretty good today, but I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, so I probably should pull that up. But yeah, I'm on board with this Washington side, especially because even after yesterday, they're not going to go back. I know you hate playing teams after they score a bunch of runs, but I just like this spot. And this is not my only stack, but this is one of the stacks I really like.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I don't like playing teams coming off of 15 runs. Porcello is so bad. And Soto is so good. And Eaton is so good against righties. I would and Cabrera, he smashed the ball all over the place yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick, man, I'm telling you, Kendrick always does well when I play him.
He's a good hitter. He's a good hitter.
And yeah, I mean, again, they didn't make my main list, but you've certainly talked me into them, so they're going to definitely get in there.
Yeah, nice hitting weather again in New York, whatever. It looks pretty good.
All right, so let's get back on track. So I misspoke. What I meant to say was that Plutko was taking the place of Plesac, he was the one that was sent down. Yeah, it was Plesac and Clevenger that both got sent. I didn't want to scare you off, you people. Chicago and Cleveland, boy, we're gonna have an issue then because you have Plutko. I was kind of into the Cubs.
I only have a little bit of Plutko. Don't worry. It's not that much.
Oh, okay. So I didn't really have any interest in these pitchers, and I was kind of into the Cubs hitters as one of my 1, 2, 3, 4 non-Coors stacks, and I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to go with it. I was going to go with with the obvious lefties. I was going to go with Rizzo and Schwarber to start off with, and just kind of see where the lineup went. I mean, Hayward, if he gets a decent lineup position, even 6, I guess, wouldn't be bad at 3,200. I'm like, looking at this lineup, I mean, it's not exactly the greatest in the world, but Baez is fine. So the Cubs were actually one of the teams I was interested in. Tell me what you like about Plutko. I didn't really even think about him too much.
I don't like the Cubs very much lately. They don't look like they can hit the ball. They've got some guys with high K upside, but if you get past the beginning of this order, it's not exactly a pretty picture against a righty. You've got, and even in the top of this order, they're all better against lefties except for Rizzo, who's about the same actually. Rizzo and Schwarber, excuse me. Yeah, they're expensive. I don't love this spot. Okay. I've heard a lot of people talk this up, and it could happen, sure. I haven't found any data that suggests this is going to be an explosion spot for the Cubs to me, but I certainly don't argue against anybody. The only player on the Cubs roster that I put in any lineup so far has been Javier Baez.
There's no way that the Cubs are a better play than the National. As I'm looking at this,
I don't think so, but
yeah, there's just no way.
People forget about this Nats team, and it happens with a lot of good teams. Okay, when you stack teams, you're not just stack. You want the lineup to keep moving. You want guys who are patient, who make you throw strikes, which is going to help not only you but the other hitters. There's a million things that go into it that are beneficial, and the Nats have more of that kind of a lineup. They have a professional lineup with a bunch of guys, other than the very bottom, who work counts. And the Cubs have 4 of those guys. They just don't have the other 5.
Do you like anything from Cleveland against Leicester?
So on this slate, I'm probably not going to do much with it. I do really like to take Cleveland against lefties, and not, the believer in Leicester that I once was, obviously. I think that one of the best plays on the slate is probably Jose Ramirez, but I'm not going to get to him at this price at third base. Like, he's a great GPP play. No one's going to play him. And not only the fact that he's got he's on fire and he's got the power, the righty upside, which he's always had power right-handed. You've got Lester on the mound, and he hasn't stolen as much this year, Jose Ramirez, but I can promise you, if he gets on base today, I'd be looking for him to possibly steal a bag.
Do people still steal on Lester?
Not as much.
It used to be a thing. I mean,
not as much as they used to, but guys who run wild will still do it on him.
Okay. All right. So let's go on. I got out of order. So now, okay. So let's go on to Chicago at Detroit. I don't have any interest in either of these pitchers, and I'm going to be just all over Chicago today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how popular they're going to be, but I'm going to go with, oh my God.
What do you see?
What I was going to say, by the way, before I leave that Cleveland game, is that Jordan Luplow at 3K is probably a good play. But I'm taking all kinds of White Sox today. I'm taking Robert was off yesterday. But he actually pinch hit him. And then there's pretty much everybody. Encarnacion, Jimenez, Anderson back in the lineup, I think, leading off. Moncada, Abreu. I'll play all these guys against Alexander, and that's just where I'm going.
All right, so this looks like a great spot. I have a little bit of interest in Tyler Alexander,
okay,
which is going to really sound weird when you hear the next part of my thing. And I love the White Sox today, so I'm sort of stuck a little bit here. I think that Tyler Alexander has got enough stuff to where I could see him getting through this lineup a little bit. I mean, I can't believe this is really a real thing. In his last game, is that real? That he struck out 10 guys out of 11 outs? That's incredible. That's like, I've never seen anything like that before. Yeah, on the year, what's he got? 13 Ks in 6 innings?
Yeah, but what you're saying is not out of line. In other words, you can, and we talk about this all the time. I mean, you can like a guy with huge strikeout upside and also like the bats against him.
Sure. I just think it's so crazy. Like that number in the last game, I've just never seen anybody ever do that before. So I think the goal is to get above the weight on every hitter on the White Sox except for Grandal. I would play Abreu. Favorites are tough. Abreu, Robert, Edwin Encarnacion is way too cheap today and has always crushed lefties. I know he's been terrible to start the year.
Which means you don't get to play Abreu.
Yeah, but he's also 3.8 though, and that is a big saver. And he's also not going to be that owned because people are kind of afraid of him right now. Tim Anderson, obviously one of the priority plays at shortstop. Yeah, all over the place in this game. But Robert, depending on where he's hitting, obviously Moncada, you want to get your stacks. Eloy Jimenez, pretty much all the way down, and then you've got the savings of Danny Mendick, your guy, who somehow comes through with like 10 fantasy points when you need him.
He's not the worst. He's like Adam, whatever, the guy from the Angels. He had like 5 fantasy points. He struck out with the bases loaded, by the way.
Yeah, it's not like playing like Brandon Crawford, who will literally go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and you're just like, well, he's 2K though. No.
Right, exactly.
So the least interest of anybody is Engel and Grandal, but you can pretty much stack this every which way. And the priorities to me are Tim Anderson, Encarnacion. Mostly it's a price point thing.
Let's put him in here just so we can see what this looks like.
Our other boy hit home.
Maybe you can play, by the way, Scherzer and Wheeler together.
Should we be talking about the Detroit stack?
Sure, let's do that.
I mean, Gio can get wild. He's a pretty good pitcher, but he can just start walking everybody at different times. And you have a very cheap.
I think the most expensive guy on Detroit is like $2,100, right? I mean, it's like crazy. Look at these guys.
But Candelario, he also just hit a home run last night too.
Did he really? After we talked him up? Wow,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, he hit a home run. I did play him a little bit, but
So I think Goodrum did too.
Yeah, Goodrum. Yeah, so hey, why not? Let's take some shots. I don't think I want to go like crazy with this, but like as a maybe 10% owned stack, that 10% of my stacks going here, I certainly think I could get behind that. Looks like we have pretty good hitting weather out there. Look, game stack is a weird term because yes, it's not correlative exactly, but in terms of weather, like it's a good hitting day, which it is other places too. You don't have the most exciting bats in the world, but you do have some really cheap bats that will allow you to play up a pitching and maybe mix in some of the Coors guys or whoever else you like. Victor Reyes is supposed to get a bump up in the batting order tonight. He's a guy I would definitely want to play at 3K. But yeah, I mean, the guys who get the X for me, and by the way, if you do play their stacks, for some reason, I feel like every time I play them, the guy who always I'm missing is Jacoby Jones. Just a weird random thing, but it somehow always seems to happen. Travis Demers, these guys are so cheap. I mean, it's just easy. And even Miggy's so cheap, but I think I'm going to go different at first base. I don't think I'm going to play Miggy. I just need to see more power out of these guys. I just,
you ready for this? So if you play,
by the way, he's hit 4 home runs. Maybe we should.
If you play the 3, 4, 5, 6 on Detroit, those 4 guys cost you $10,100.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with the Detroit guys in there. Yeah, I'm in.
I don't know if I'm going to be in, but it's definitely worth thinking about.
We'll sum it up at the end. It's hard today because there's a lot of good plays.
Okay. So we did Washington Mets.
Yep.
Okay, so Tampa Boston. Good call, by the way, that Tampa with Meadows is just kind of a different team. They hit it around pretty good yesterday, actually.
They scored a lot more, actually.
What's that?
They had so many outs with like nobody out and bases loaded.
I know.
Just was crazy.
Yeah, I had a good FanDuel lineup. I had all kinds of Kevin Kiermaier at 6%.
Oh man, yeah.
He got like 30 or something like that.
I know, he was a big one.
Yeah, so they're actually my kind of like a secondary stack for me tonight too. I think I'll go right back to them. Perez, he's Perez. Is he going to be? Are people going to play him again? I mean, people played him before.
Yeah, he's playable, I would say, but I don't know if they're going to play that much of him.
Yeah, so in any case, I will probably go right back to some of these Tampa guys. I'll probably use Meadows anyway, but my preference will be for the righties. Will be Diaz, Renfroe, Brousseau. If Dames gets Dames is fine. I mean, again, if you just want to stack some of these guys, Zunino again. So Martinez. I mean, I think this is a team you can go after.
Yeah, and there's going to be ownership on some guys, but they're no shocker like some of your favorite guys. So like Renfroe is going to be popular, but he's one of my highest owned players, even as a one-off today. Just 3.3 versus a lefty for him in Boston is kind of like a joke. But there's also a lot of good outfielders, like. I mean, it's funny. Is early in the season, people were paying 5.7 for him, like in certain spots. You know what I mean? Because he was coming in hot at the beginning of the year, wasn't he? Yeah, he hit the 2 home runs that one day, and it bumped his price up. His first game, he hit 2 home runs. Yeah. So I love Renfroe. I like Mike Brousseau, assuming he's in the lineup. I just want to caution people. Tampa Bay is not a team on large slates that you generally want to get crazy with stacking. Because there's 2 reasons. Well, one, half their players are gonna get pinch hit for, or substituted, or whatever. The other problem is that their best hitters are left-handed, so you kind of know that if a lefty, that they're gonna try and go lefty. But the problem is like, if one righty ends up appearing, Margot, Martinez, Brousseau could all lose their bats late in the game. So it's just tricky. Yandy Diaz is crazy cheap and should definitely be owned here. He's 3K at third base. He's going to be popular. But I would play Brandon Lau. If I was going to stack this game, I think you have to play Lau and or Meadows. Because you're talking about maybe some of the chalkiest plays on the slate in Diaz and Renfroe. And if you're going to do that, I just would encourage you to get different, because then you might want to play Zunino as your catcher, who's also going to be popular. And then you want to play one or two of those guys. In fact, I would just say if you're going to go for it, maybe make a 5-man stack and just play the 5 guys I mentioned.
Any interest in Boston or no?
Mild, but that's about it. Like, definitely can play JD now. Nice to see him at a home run.
I like Verdugo.
I almost said Humphrey Bogarts, but Xander is playing pretty well. I love Verdugo. I just think Verdugo is. I mean, he was the other guy I predicted for having a monster breakout year, and it hasn't entirely panned out, but he's been really good, and he's hitting the ball better. Actually, I'm looking at his numbers; they've actually picked up a ton. Yeah, I love Verdugo. He's the priority guy for me because of his price. But again, you're getting into high ownership range between him. Like if you play him, Renfroe, and what's his name in one lineup? What's the third baseman? Yandy Diaz.
Yeah.
You're going to have like a ton of ownership on a giant slate with so many good options. It just feels like, God, do I need to do that, But they're doing it because people are trying to pay up for pitching. So I still like Verdugo, though. I'm still going to be at 15, 20, maybe a little higher than 20% on Verdugo.
Okay. Let's move ahead to Milwaukee, Minnesota. So I like 2 things from this game. Unfortunately, they're the same thing. So on the one hand, I think that Minnesota, as we talk about a lot, they're kind of always in play. And against the righty, you can play Kepler. Oh, you know what? I played Buxton last night, and the only guy I didn't play was Rosario with the grand slam.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it is what it is. But so Minnesota's always in play. But with that said, Lindholm is one of my 4 other pitchers to use with Scherzer. He's still really cheap. I know you don't think he's like that great. I mean, he's not that great.
No. I did not say that. I said that he's not a good enough where he was a chalk pitcher who had never thrown more than 50 pitches or whatever.
Right, that's true.
I do think he's got some good stuff actually, and I think he makes sense. So keep going. Sorry,
So he's one of the 4 guys besides Scherzer. We talked about Wheeler. This is another one. Lindblom, and I do like him as one of my pitchers. And you can always play those Minnesota guys. I am not going to play the. I didn't get to Milwaukee today. So if you like them, and we could talk about that, but that was pretty much it. I mean, the normal guys from Minnesota: Kepler, Polanco, Rosario, the lefties, Marvin. I'll play Buxton always now, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of into a little bit of these bats for Minnesota. I sort of like Lindblom. I'm going to have some of them. He's not my favorite, but I do have some exposure in all honesty. But I think that playing these bats at low ownership is always interesting to me. A great hitter's park, obviously a tough bullpen, but a bullpen that has some good lefties, which they can sort of negate by having not only really good righties in their lineup, by also having lefties that are very patient against lefties. So I'm kind of into this as a little bit of a low-owned deal. I know I've mentioned more stacks than usual that I like today, which I sound like I work for another company. But I'm back on it again. I mean, Kepler, I'm going to be way over the field. I'm going to make him a little bit of a priority play. Whenever he's facing a guy who's not like Max Scherzer, and even then maybe, and he's never going to be and he's not going to be owned, I just think you got to try and play him. Now, we've talked about a lot of great outfielders, so he'll just be lost. But at no ownership, we've just been watching this guy just crush the ball against righties all year long. So I'll prioritize him a little bit. I'll take a shot on Rosario. This is one of the best left-handed power hitting parks in all of baseball that they're moved into now. So I sort of like those guys the best. And then I'm good with Polanco at a somewhat weak shortstop position. And then I'm good with Cruz would be the other guys I would look at. And Buxton, obviously. But I have a weird feeling that Buxton's going to have like a monster game tonight. I have no idea where this is coming from. It's just totally a wild feeling. But yeah, so I don't mind it. I don't know how much I'll end up getting to it, but I certainly think it's a good stack from a game theory perspective. They could score they could easily score the most runs on the slate, and they're going to be completely unowned at every position.
You like Milwaukee at all?
No.
Okay.
I do like Yelich and Hera. Sorry. I really like Yelich a ton. I think he's really found his groove. I think he's coming back in. It's just about prioritizing the very high spend ups in the outfield. He's at a home run now in 3 of the last 4 games. Hits in obviously all those games. He's also hit another triple. He has stole a base. Like, we're starting to see good things out of him. And Hera, you know my feelings about him. I just think he's awesome. And he's going to get great pitchers against him. He's going to end up with a lot of lefties against him, which he'll crush later in the games because they're going to bring in lefties to face Yelich. So, and turn smoke around. So it's kind of interesting.
All right, so let's move on. Arizona, Colorado. I presume that it's going to be the most popular game, being at Coors and all. We'll say that. I mean, the Colorado guys are pricey, but they're always pricey. I'm sure people are going to want to play play these guys, and I got no problem with playing either of them. You know, again, but as usual, it makes the rest of your lineups a little more difficult, and you have to kind of dechalkify a little bit to make it work. But you know, the first look at the ownership really didn't make it look that bad. So I'll go back to Colorado. What I like to do in this situation is look more at the lefties. Now Gallen's not bad. You know, Gallen's not bad, but I don't think this is
not bad might be the understatement. We could be looking back at the not bad as being like, this guy could be a top 5 pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe on like a 5 game
at some point. Yeah.
Maybe on a 5-game slate, I would try him.
For sure.
I don't think I need to do it today. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I got no problem. Like if it's a strikeout pitcher, I have no problem trying that in Coors. But with that said, I'll play Blackman. I'll play Daniel Murphy. I'll play, you know, who are the other guys? Dahl, Tapia, McMahon. You know, whoever gets in the lineup. No problem with that. And on the Arizona side, I'll go right back to the usual suspects. I mean, Escobar is still, you know, cheap at 3,900. They still didn't price these guys up enough. I don't think they left. I mean, even though Freeland's a lefty, I mean, they still left Peralta at 3,900, which seems almost insulting. Christian Walker 4,600. I mean, all these guys are just seem very, very reasonable. So I'll go right back to them, I think.
So the level of popularity is interesting against a pitcher who I thought we've talked about this before. I've always felt like pitches for the most part pretty well in Coors. He doesn't give up hard contact sometimes, but a lot of that's on the ground, and he is a guy who I'm interested in. I'm sorry,
Freeland?
No, sorry, he's not a guy I'm interested in. It's an interesting spot to try and get to be below the field because, you know, everybody's going to be somewhere. So that's sort of the way I'm approaching it. But what I'm going to do is be overweight on the field on everybody who's going to be low owned. Okay, so here's the plan. First of all, they've got some BVP history. Nick Ahmed has crushed Freeland as he has every lefty. For some reason, the guy always hits lefties. Now, he played last night, and he's been on a little bit of a tear anyway, even starting against righties, batting 9th. He's projected to bat 9th tonight. Don't be surprised if they mix something up in the lineup because he could easily be jumped to the top of this lineup tonight, and he might become like a priority popular play. But even if he's batting 9th, I'm going to prioritize it in my stacks to make sure I play some Nick Ahmed because that's one guy you can use to get off the chalk a little bit. I mean, look, he had 29 fantasy points last night. He had a home run in San Diego the night before. 2 games before that, he had another home run. It's a weird little surge. So playing him, David Peralta in a lefty, Andrew Young, these will be the low-owned guys you can use to make your stacks a little bit different. And that's what I would encourage you doing rather than trying to play 20+% owned guys on a I almost said the F word, but on an absolutely massive slate. I don't want to play people who are too chalky.
Who are going to be the chalky guys over there?
The chalky ones are good. Number 1 is going to be Ketel Marte, I think. Second base is not as strong as other positions, and he really does stand out. Starling Marte, I would imagine, would be the next most, and folled by
What do you think about LeCastro hitting second at 3,700?
I hate LeCastro, so I'm going to definitely be below the field on that one.
Okay.
But I initially, I wanted to get – I mean, it makes sense. And he'll probably hit a luck into a home run, then he'll get pinch hit for his next at bat or something. I'm not playing LeCastro in the outfield on this loaded of an outfield slate. There's just way too many plays. You have to be looking almost for home run plus. You don't just look for a home run from somebody who's on a slate like this to me. You look for home run plus potential. And LeCastro asking a home run feels like almost impossible. So that's a tough one. Colorado side is a little tough. The only part that's tough is that they're going to be unowned except for like one position probably.
Those guys are really expensive. I mean, what's already now? They're both over $6K now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a, if it was up to me, I think that I guess it is up to me. I'm going to play, I don't want to be, but I'm going to be overweight on Colorado. I like Gallen as a pitcher. We have a great hitters umpire, great hitting weather, 5.75 run total for a team that's not going to be very high owned. That's pretty enticing.
So you're going to be playing probably Lindblom or.
I think what I'm saying is, I would try to play a contrarian Rocky stack if I can. Well, I mean, think about it. If you could play a 4-man with Detroit,
right,
and kind of work it out a little bit, And I'm telling you, people are not going to play this side that much. They'll play probably Trevor Story because the shortstop position is weaker, but that's the only guy I see people actually playing. How crazy!
Do you like putting your catchers in these games?
I don't like Wolters being my catcher, but
okay.
every now and then I'll use him. Not usually on these slates, but this slate is pretty bad at catcher also. My favorite plays at catcher are probably going to be with Stacks today. But if I had to take, I wouldn't take a one-off in this game. I would prefer the catcher on the Arizona side, to be honest.
Okay. Moving on. All right. So Seattle and Texas. So we're going to talk about BVP for a second. So Mike Minor, I don't think that I've ever gotten more than 10 fantasy points out of him. And I've played him so many times. And it's going to have to happen again. He's one of those secondary pitchers behind Scherzer, and God help me, I think I'm locking him in on FanDuel. So he's just basically free over there. That's the way it's going to be. Seattle's basically been killing everybody, by the way. Doesn't matter, righties, lefties. I don't know. They say they have these big strikeout rates or whatever. Every time I watch them play, they have like 9 runs. So I don't know what to say. But I like Minor.
They still can have a high strikeout rate though, and still stick his.
No, I understand. But everybody keeps attacking them, and every single game they have 10 runs. I don't quite get it. But I'm gonna go. I'll bite. I'll take Minor. I'll eat it. We'll see what happens. And oh God. And then, I know what happened. I'll watch the first inning. We'll be 3-0 on the first batter, and I'll already close my phone. You know what I mean? Like, just because I know what's coming. It'll be the 3 walks, and this and the other thing. I'll make it through.
Wait, I'm going to talk you off of this one.
Oh, nice. Okay. Excellent.
Mike Minor, the word is they're going to start limiting his pitches. He's lost a ton of velocity on his pitches. I'm not saying he might not show in one of my mass things that he doesn't enter in like one lineup or something. But I think this is a really good stay away. I usually like to play Minor in these potentially high strikeout spots. I don't know what how much he'll really go. I don't trust it. I think he'll have a little bit of ownership, and I like the other pitchers in this price range. And I just don't think if they're going to really actually start limiting him, that was like his biggest strength as a DFS player.
There it is. Yep, there it is.
So I think if it was up to me, which it is. Again,
oh, beautiful. Excellent. Oh my God, my life just became so much nicer.
What happened?
No, that I don't have to play him. He's gonna have a reduced pitch count. I don't play guys with reduced pitch counts anyway. I didn't even see.
I thought you were talking about the NBA news that just came in.
What?
It's no big deal. We'll talk about it. It's just the Bucks are resting, which I kind of figured might happen. Middleton, Matthews, and Bledsoe.
Apparently, the Magic are resting Markelle Fultz.
And they were kind enough to make Giannis questionable for us with his tooth, which is really annoying because obviously.
It doesn't matter. TLC is outscoring Giannis anyway, so.
Yeah, but everybody played TLC.
Yeah, I guess.
Markelle Fultz is terrible, but
all right, good. Well, that made my life just so much easier. Well, it made my life a little harder.
Who's your other guy? What did you say? Did you talk about Marco Gonzalez at all?
I didn't. Why? Should I?
I love Marco Gonzalez.
Ooh. Okay.
I think he's a really, really cool, cheaper play. He's been absolutely awesome in really tough matchups. He's had Houston and the Angels twice, and he had the good Angels, and he dominated them twice. I'm into this Marco Gonzalez idea. I think he's going to actually get some ownership. Texas has been awful against lefties, absolutely awful. They've been awful hitting all year. The weather, now if they open the dome, it's going to make me a little bit nervous. Marco Gonzalez is not a high strikeout pitcher. This team has strikeouts in it anyway. You get a guy like Odor, Gallo, Frazier, Chirinos. These guys are huge strikeout guys. Then you've got Ref Schneider in the lineup. You've got Heineman, Kiner Falefa batting second, Nick Solak, and I'm all over the idea of playing some of these. This Marco Gonzalez, but where I don't, I want to make a priority play out of an unowned Joey Gallo, especially if the roof's open. Lefty doesn't bother either of these guys. Actually, Marco Gonzalez can give it more power to lefties. So he doesn't give that much power in general, but I do think Joey Gallo completely overlooked at a really low price tag. Again, on these programs that I've been sort of running, he sort of grades out to be one of the most likely to hit a home run today, which is kind of crazy. But at 0% ownership, I'm definitely willing to take a shot with that guy. Even though I mentioned a bunch of good outfielders, he's a guy you can always play.
Wow, this is gonna be fun.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit into the Gonzalez thing. I'm not going to play anybody on the Seattle side.
Yeah, I didn't have any interest in the hitting on either side of this game. All right, so San Francisco, Houston. I didn't have any interest in Belak, although it's one of those things where I might if I was playing enough lineups, but I'm not doing it. As a matter of fact, I think I like Houston. I want to play the Houston guys. They're one of my favorites. I don't know if I don't know where their ownership's going to come in, but they have a 5.5 run total. You don't need to explain. I don't need to explain why all this. This is really easy stuff. So it will be the normal cast of characters. Correa. Bregman's really expensive, but whatever. Altuve, I'll play him. Kyle Tucker is 3,600 in the outfield. I know it takes up an outfield spot, but he's pretty cheap. I don't like playing Miles Straw, and that's where I'm going to start with that game.
Yeah, I'm fine with Houston. I like some other stacks better today, especially at the prices. Yeah. They're not like cheap. You're not really getting a discount on this stack. You can play Maldonado cheap as your catcher in your stack, or you can play the lefty of Tucker or Reddick, which would be cheap. And I like if Springer's in the lineup, we'll talk then. Because if Springer's in the lineup, I definitely have some interest here. I really think it makes that much of a difference. Especially for Springer. I want to play Springer too. And he's cheap too. So they made him 4.9K if he ends up getting in the lineup. So to me, that's how I'm sort of treating that. If I hear Springer's in the lineup, I'll revisit it. I already like enough other stacks. If you're going to prioritize anyone, it'd be Correa for me. He's looked as much better at the plate than he had been. He's sort of affordable at, again, a fairly weak shortstop position. And the other guy would be Altuve.
You like anything on I presume you don't like any of the pitchers. Or you like Belak or anything?
I do like Belak. Okay. I'm actually kind of confused at why not more people do. Maybe he's a little bit higher. I think he should be like 6.7, and you could be getting a great deal here, and you probably would see a lot of ownership on him. But, look, going 5 innings in his last start, pretty good stuff. He hasn't had the strikeouts in his way go his way yet. But he's put up – I know this sounds like a weird thing to say for a pitcher, but this is the era we're in. He's put up double digits in pitching every game he's played so far. And the early one, he's only pitched 2 innings in one of those games. So I'm kind of moderately interested in taking a long shot at him. Like, no one's going to play him. And I think he's a decent enough spot against a horrible Giants offense that I'm just going to probably take a little bit of a shot, but nothing huge.
Okay. So San Diego and LA. So I was not going to play Stripling, but it was going to be just barely. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. He was going to be, as a matter of fact, it's so funny. I'm like looking over my numbers, and I do see that Marco Gonzalez mm-hmm. is like really, really close to somebody that I was going to play. So it's not like I completely was off the wall with him. And Belak too. So I regard Stripling along the lines of Gonzalez and Belak. Like, these are the 3 guys I would get to if I didn't have the other guys. Let's put it that way. So Stripling is again a good pitcher. Good matchup, and I certainly would include him if I went just a little bit deeper. And at first glance, it's so funny. Like, I didn't like really have a lot of interest. It's so why do I even think about it this way? I was gonna say I don't have a lot of interest in the Dodgers, but I should start with the fact that I want to have interest in the Dodgers and come up with a reason not to. Except for the fact they haven't hit anything in a while. Oh, because it's against Cy Young Garrett Richards. Forgot about that. So I'm not playing Garrett Richards against the Dodgers, as I was mentioning yesterday before he got pulled out of the game, out of the start. But I don't know if I want to just go ahead and attack him with Dodgers. Then again, I mean, it is, Dodgers against a righty, and going against a team that's been a little bit cold. Maybe this is the time to go after it. Oh my God! And Peterson gets a price increase to 4,700. But imagine that if you faded all this other stuff, you got past Arizona, Colorado, and you somehow got there with the Dodgers when nobody owned them.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that might be me tonight. So I like Richards in some ways, and I still don't know who he is. He's
right.
Matchups are make it really hard, and that's why people's numbers are always skewed. And I know you can't trust just numbers because he's got to face the Dodgers or Coors basically every game. It's basically this team is struggling. No question about it. It's only been a couple games. They're still hitting the ball hard. I'll feel better when Seager gets back in the lineup about fully stacking it. I don't know that I'm going to fully stack this. I just want to say that Richards gives up a ton of hard contact, especially to lefties. So Bellinger, Muncy, I don't want to say Peterson because on a slate this big to say a guy at that price who might only have 2 at-bats is a good play is kind of hard for me. But I would include A.J. Pollock. Those 3 guys particularly stand out, and Betts, but he's just so expensive. Those guys all stand out to me as being not exceptional plays, but I love the power upside, especially Bellinger's. I think he's the one who I could see getting a hold of one most likely tonight. And I think I'm going to try to get him in my outfield. Again, it's just so hard how loaded the outfield is. But I do like this spot. I don't know how about full stacks, but I want to get some of these lefty power bats especially in there. I'm not going to play Justin Turner much. I'm not going to play the other guys at the bottom of the order as much. Just mostly want to try and pick out a couple home runs here. A couple home run spots, which means multiple home runs, maybe. Going back to what I said earlier.
Where do you rank Stripling today?
This is the question I thought we were going to get into at the end, but let's get into it at the end. But I will tell you now that I'm having trouble with the decision about my secondary pitchers, and he's in there for me. He's up there for me. Yeah. I feel nervous a little bit about the San Diego matchup.
I'm trying to work this out. I mean, because.
Well, the
last guy we'll get to in a minute, but I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go.
I will just say this: if I didn't get nervous about Stripling different things in the past, I would have won so much money on this guy because I've only seen the spots right. I just always worried. And the truth is, the only worry I have tonight is San Diego's power bats. They also are high strikeouts, and you have a team with a 3.7 run total against a pitcher who has thrown 90+ pitches in all of his games, gone over 5 innings in all of his games, and put up. Well, he had the one down game against Arizona, which he had 9.8 fantasy points, but he put up 29 and 18 in his other 2 games. We would love, I don't know about you, but for 7.9K, if you told me I'm getting 18 points out of my pitcher tonight, I'm thrilled. I just want to move on.
Yeah.
And there's upside is up to 30. There really is. So the more I think about it, he is interesting. You could even try something different and play like a him in with Marco Gonzalez or something and get those big bats in that you want.
All right, so last game of the night is another one of the pitchers that have to be considered. Dylan Bundy at 9,700. He's I don't say unplayable, but he's certainly a lot better value on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. I much prefer Wheeler on FanDuel than Bundy just because of price or whatever.
Right.
But I saw an interesting stat. I forgot which pitcher I was watching, whether it was McCullers or somebody else, and they ranked 4 or 5 pitchers the highest whiff rate for sliders over the last couple of years or whatever. And Bundy was right there in the mix of between Scherzer, whoever this other guy was, Lamet was a third guy, and this fourth. So Bundy has we talk about him a lot. He's a GPP type play. He has a big strikeout rate. He certainly can give up home runs, but he's certainly certainly on the short list of good GPP plays, and he's going to be a significant part of my player pool. Now, with that said, Bundy's in there. You can certainly go ahead and play Matt Olson. I mean, certainly hit 3 home runs if he's in the mood. But I'm very interested in Bundy. Not too interested in the other pitcher, whoever that is, and I'm really wasn't going to get to either of the bats in this game.
Yeah, so
Mike Fiers.
I like that people are sort of off of Bundy, but I also think this is a great matchup for him on paper. He's actually pretty good against righties, and the K rate is incredible. And you've got a righty dominant lineup that he just pitched really well against earlier this year, and he was more limited in probably his number of pitches he could throw. You got a low total. It's hard not to have some interest in him here, as he's going to be lower owned than Wheeler, obviously, and Scherzer. But,
you think so? He's going to be lower owned than Wheeler?
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, I'm talking about I'll play him maybe 15 or 20% of my lines. I'm not going to go crazy with him. I think the price is it's just hard to get him in there with Scherzer, and then it's hard to justify playing him over Scherzer. It's a tricky situation. But you hit the nail on the head with what you said about Matt Olson. I think that if you're not playing him, that's one of your best preferred spend-ups at first base. He's always given up hard contact at both sides, but especially lefties. Matt Olson is a power righty who just matches up extremely well. So I'm into that play. I also don't mind if you want to take a shot with Chapman, who's really expensive now, and who's too expensive is Chris Davis. These are just guys who could run into a couple home runs against a guy like Bundy. So that's all I have some interest in from the hitting side, and I do have some interest in Bundy, but that's all from the Oakland side. I do like the Angels a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't Mike Fiers, wasn't he very home run prone at some point?
He is. He gives up power. This is a great matchup for Trout especially. He's basically reverse splits power-wise for Fiers. So the weirdest part is that I'm actually going to throw Mike Fiers. I do this every year. I throw Mike Fiers into these lineups. I lose 10% of my money every week.
Oh, really? He's like the Zach Levine of.
Then I win a monster tournament with him.
Really?
Or I won a qualifier with him once. You know what I mean? Because he'll come out and throw. One time I played him against the Dodgers. He throws a no-hitter a couple years back for Houston. It's just, no, that was Morton, I think. Or no, it was Fiers. He's got enough where he can get through this lineup. Like you're talking about no more than 5 or 10%, and even that is probably extreme. But I'm just going to throw him into a couple lineups. Let's put it that way. But on the Angels side of it, I think you want to get Trout. I think that Rendon looks good. I love Ohtani. The problem is that, again, we get into the position stuff. Same thing with Trout and Rendon, too, a little bit. But those are the guys, and then Listella would be the other guy I would play if I was going to make a stack out of it.
Yes. Aside from Joe Adele, I really don't have any recommendations for the Angels in this game. So it'd be Joe Adele and whoever else you want to pair with him. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. I play Rendon, play Upton, play Listella, Goodwin. I don't know. Maybe I can get talked into this a little bit. So
you do. I just want to point something out today that I noticed.
Yeah.
The extreme hitters umpire. You could argue there's like 3 of them in baseball, but Alfonso Marquez is one of them, and he's at the Coors game today.
Oh God.
Just want to throw that out there because guys like if Gallen and Freeland, if Freeland's not able to get like corners and stuff, then you might see some more power. So I just want to throw that out there.
Like they need a pitcher's umpire there, like they need a hole in the head, right? I mean, a hitter's umpire, like they need a hole in the head over there.
Yeah, seriously. Nothing else extreme on the umpires tonight.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to talk about some favorite to pitching? Like, let's figure this out.
Yeah. So I'm really excited that you pointed me towards that comment. Well, you just mentioned it, and I looked at it, that they're going to be limiting minor because there's zero chance I'm playing a guy with a limited pitch count. So for me, it makes it a little bit easier maybe not. So let me talk about FanDuel first. So pitching on FanDuel is going to be one of 3 guys for me. It's going to be either Scherzer, Wheeler, or Bundy. I don't think I'm going to get down to that other range on FanDuel. On DraftKings, looking now, it's going to be Scherzer as my top, and then it's still very it's still very close. Bundy, Wheeler, and then the whole different ball of wax between Lindblom, Gonzalez, Stripling, Belak, Richards. I mean, I hate to hedge like this, but there's a lot of ways you can go. You can make a ridiculous case for a freaking. Nah, I can't even say it. I mean, like Porcello.
No, I think
I don't know, man.
I think we're getting too creative, and we're gonna have to live with the results if it doesn't work out with the guys we like.
Okay.
Because, so one guy we didn't talk about, I did mention, but I have more interest in him than I originally thought. I would like a better umpire for him. He's got another hitter's umpire. But Tyler Alexander against the White Sox at 6K is kind of interesting. But again, it's not super exciting. We mentioned the Lindblom thing before. Let's see.
You know what? The fact of the matter is that Bundy and Wheeler have big strikeout upside. You know what I mean? Like they're very solid. You can live with if you could live with one of, I don't know. You can even play a Bundy Wheeler lineup and kind of feel decent about it.
You could play Gio Gonzalez the way the pitching is working out. I'm just kidding. We could find a lot of guys that we could say whatever about, but I just want to point out, like, there are some good options tonight. Like, maybe we're overthinking it a little bit, but I think that Scherzer is a really good option. Obviously, Wheeler and Bundy are good options, but getting those guys in with the pricing is a little tricky.
Yep.
So then you get down, and the guys you mix in, to me, are Stripling, Gonzalez, and then you get a mix of the other guys we talked about: Alexander, Plutko, Lindblom, maybe Perez.
See, this is the problem. I mean, like if you get a hitter's umpire, especially in Coors and all these other places where runs can be put up, like are you going to be able to get really enough points out of $3,800 guys? You know what I mean? Like if you pair Scherzer with Bundy or Scherzer with Wheeler.
Well, the answer is unquestionably yes. The question is, it's much harder to find those 3,800 guys than it is harder. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of those guys that sort of, they could hit a home run once every 10 games. But we have a bunch of guys who hit them every 5 games that are easier to choose from. You know what I mean? So that's
is this going to be one of those? This isn't going to be one of those dumb slates where like a Lindblom Gonzalez pairing like wins the slate. Right?
It's certainly possible because you could play the Coors stack if you want to. But I don't know, Lindblom, Plutko, Ty Alexander, Bielik. I don't know what's happening with the Plutko thing, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit confused because he came in relief in the last time he pitched, but he did start for the first game and he had pitched 6 innings. So he was the guy I was originally going to be a little bit more on, but I'm not. Maybe I'm being a moron for not. No, anyway. All right. Well, I think that's so. Basically, in order for me, it's Scherzer, then a combination of Stripling. I mean, literally, I have 4 guys tied at the same, all different prices. But it's Stripling, Wheeler, Bundy, and Marco Gonzalez. And then I'm down. Then you go down a little bit, Plutko. Then you get the Bielik, Alexander, Lindblom situation.
Yeah. All right. Interesting, huge slate.
We talk about the stats we like as we went, but should we really quick just mention some top hitters overall that we're owning? I can do that real quick if you want.
Yeah. Well, we went over the. Why don't you go over that and I'll go over like my one-offs when you're.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got top owned hitters for me are Kepler, Rhys Hoskins, Mike Trout, Didi Gregorius, Hunter Renfroe, Juan Soto, followed by Blackman, Encarnacion, Yelich, Bellinger, Escobar, Eaton, Ahmed, Anderson, Castro, Marte, Gallo, Reyes, and Marte. Those guys are all the same ownership. So
you know what? I was thinking about this again. Don't sleep on those on that Washington call that Bobby brought up. That's with Soto back. I mean, that's a real team.
I think so too.
Yeah, so these are probably going to all be on the high-owned side, but as far as one-offs go, I guess Diaz, all these. And Renfroe, all these Detroit guys, man, you were talking about. Candelaria, Travis Demerite, however you pronounce him. Even Cabrera, like you were saying, at 2,400. And then these Arizona guys are going to look really cheap even as one-offs, if you want to know the truth. Yeah. And one other guy that, again, I mentioned just really, really quickly, but this guy happens to be really, really good against lefties. Is Jordan Luplow at 3K.
That's a good call.
And that's Jay Bruce. Who's the last guy out there? Jay Bruce at 37.
Yeah. Yeah. If you need to go minimum a catcher today, my advice would go to Grayson Griner.
Yeah.
The only minimum guy there, so he's a guy I'm actually sort of prioritizing, weirdly enough. But yeah, I'm trying to get more of that. I think I'm going to have to play more of the cheaper things. So I think I'm going to end up with even more of these Detroit White Sox game than I thought, especially the Detroit side, obviously. All right, man, this is a good. Hopefully it was good. Hopefully we'll lead to a win for both of us. We'll be talking tomorrow about winning all the money. Anything for the people before we get out of here?
No, I'll settle for some of the money. It's fine.
All right. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully we were helpful. Give us the like and subscribe, and good luck in your contest. We'll see you tomorrow.